This has underscored the urgency as well as the benefits of an accelerated scale-up of cheaper and cleaner source of energy. Ukraine crisis has sent food, energy, and other commodity prices soaring, increasing the strains on African economies already hard hit by COVID-19 pandemic. The overlapping crises are affecting many parts of Africa's energy systems, including reversing positive trends in improving access to modern energy. With 4% more people living without electricity in 2021 than in 2019, they are also depending on financial difficulties of utilities, increasing risk, including risk of background and including backouts and rationing. These problems are contributing to a sharp increase in extreme poverty in sub-Sahara Africa, with the number of people affected by food crisis quadrupling in some areas. Universal access of affordable electricity achieved by 2030 in the Sustainable Africa Scenario SAS requires bringing connections to 90 million people a year, triple the rate of recent years. At present, 600 million people, or 43% of the total population, lack access to the electricity. Most of them in sub-Sahara Africa, countries such as Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda are all on track for full access by 2030, offering success stories other countries can follow. IEA detailed analysis shows that extending national grids is the least costly and most prudent option for almost 45% of the gaining access to 2030 in rural areas where over 80% of the electricity deprived live mini grids and stand-alone systems, mostly solar-based, are the most viable solutions. Demand for energy services in Africa is set to grow rapidly. Maintaining affordability remains an urgent priority. Africa has the world's lowest levels of per capita use of modern energy. As its population and incomes grow, demand for modern energy expands by a third between 2020 and 2030 in the SAS. However, under the existing subsidy schemes, current prices spikes risk doubling energy subsidy burdens in Africa countries in 2022, an untenable outcome of many facing debt distress. Some countries, including Egypt, Ethiopia, and Uganda, are being driven to half or reduce subsidies or to reinstate fuel taxes due to growing financial burdens. International support must play to a role in the near term to manage prices, but better targeting of subsidies to the households most in need is essential. As Africa's industry, commerce, and agriculture expand, so too does the need for productive uses of energy. In the SAS, energy demand in industry, freight, and agriculture grows by most 40% by 2030, increased production of fertilizer, steel, cement, as well as manufacturing appliances, vehicles, and clean energy technologies. Achieving Africa's energy and climate goals means more than doubling energy investment in the decade. This would like it or US dollars 190 billion each year from 2026 to 2030. With the 2/3 going on clean energy, the share of energy investment in Africa's GDP rises 6.1% in 2026 to the 30 period, slightly above the average of emerging market developing economics, but Africa's energy investment in that period is still only around 5% of the global total in the IEA's net zero emission by 2050 scenario. Indian power and electric scenario. By 2022, the installed power capacity in India is expected to reach 350 gigawatts GW from 243 GW in 2014. On the back of increasing industrialization and economic development, the total market size electrical machinery in India anticipated to reach $100 billion by 2022 from $24 billion in 2013. The electrical machinery sector consists of generation, transmission, distribution machinery. The transmission and distribution market expanded a compound annual growth of CAGR of 6.7% over FY07 to 13. Boilers 16%, cables 15%, and transmission lines and conductors 12% account for a large chunk of revenue. The generation equipment market is expected to expand at a CAGR of 12.7% for years 12 to 22. The exports of electrical machinery rose $3.9 billion in FY14, $3.4 billion in FY12. Boilers and parts and electrical wires and cables were primary drivers of the increase in exports. The government of India has been delicensed the electrical machinery industry, has allowed 100% foreign direct investment, FDI, in the sector. It plans to set up the Electrical Equipment Skill Development Council, ESDC, which would focus on identifying critical manufacturing skills required for the electrical machinery industry. With many bilateral nuclear agreements in place, India is expected to become a major hub for manufacturing nuclear reactors and associated components. Foreign participation in the development of financial of generation and transmission assets, engineering services, equipment supply, and technology collaboration in nuclear and clean coal technologies is also expected to increase. Reason for partner with Indian power and electrical equipment markets. Indian Electrical Equipment Industry Mission Plan 2012-22 aims to make India as a preferred destination for production of electrical equipment. It also aims to achieve an output of $100 billion by balancing the trade deficit in the sector. Incentives for capacity addition in power generation will further increase the demand of electrical machinery. Indian manufacturers are becoming more competitive in terms of product designs, manufacturing, and testing facilities. Researchers have developed smart to T-based machine for welding ferrous tubes faster than the conventional fusion welding or solid state process presently used with the less consumption of energy. All the best to the participants, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I'm having Ms. Arifa Parker on the line. She had a video problem, so I think she's rejoining. Mr. Pranay Sinha, can you hear us? Just to check your audio, if you can on your mic. Earlier you had a problem. So Ms. Arifa Parker is back with video audio. Glad to see you, ma'am. So welcome you to deliver special address. Ms. Arifa Parker is the Chief Executive Officer, Business Opportunities Forum. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for inviting me for this occasion. And congratulations to the Indian Chamber of Commerce and the Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, in organizing the 3rd edition of ICC Electrical and Power Equipment Fair. You know, one always thinks about saying it, so what's the big deal? It is a big deal. When we look at it, what we have gone through the past 2 years, and to have and use technology and still carry on with the work that we do as business people as chambers of commerce, as organizations that help businesses. Businesses look at us, the chambers and organizations such as ours, as the power where there is connection and continuity. And this has been proved by the Indian Chamber of Commerce and the Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, by organizing. This is the third one that they have organized. And I was fortunate enough to attend, to see via Zoom, all of them. And to be part of it is a big honor for me. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing this wonderful job. I may be sitting in Cape Town and looking at it and saying, oh, it's fantastic. But it means a big deal for us as business people. India and South Africa are natural allies. You know, our major Indian exports to Africa include vehicles and transport equipments and drugs and everything from engineering goods, footwear. But the most important thing when I look at is how the major Indian imports from South Africa, besides taking the gold, the stream coal, copper ores and all that, it is this knowledge and the technical side. For me, the electrical side plays a very important role. South Africa is still India's largest trading partners in sub-Saharan Africa after Nigeria. Like past histories and years, the trade balance is still in favor of South Africa. India is South Africa's sixth trading partner. We have been strengthening our relationships on different platforms. We've got the business platforms such as the CEO Forum and the SA Indian Business Forum. Both the CEO Forum and the SA Indian Business Forum have been identified as critical interlocutors that can boost economic cooperation and commercial ties. This was reinforced through the adoptions of several MOUs during the CEO Forum. In spite of the 2 years that everybody calls as the doom and the gloom time, we have been able to rise above all that. And the engagement between India and South Africa, you can say since 1994, demonstrates that both sides are moving beyond mere historical symbolism. We no longer have to stick to saying that, yes, it was the time of our great philosopher, great founder, Mahatma Gandhi and Mandela. No, it has gone beyond that. Today, the world, the economic world is getting smaller. The village is getting smaller. The ecosystem is getting smaller. And everybody seems to be part of everything. So the engagement under Modi's government, there seems to be a candid attempt to push relationship towards one that is aimed at enhancing the relationship with economic-centric focus. And one such thing is what you are doing now. If you look at the engagements between India and South Africa, especially in the economic and the defense sectors, it demonstrates that the India-South Africa relationship has grown in leaps and bounds, beyond mere commonalities in the struggles to freedom from oppression. Both value each other as development partners, and the unique and multifaceted relationship serves as an example for global South cooperation. I believe that we are an example to the world that things can move, relationships can be moving forward to the progressive nature, to the skills. When I look at the skills exchange, the development, I can't feel proud being an Indian myself and living in South Africa, being a South African. It gives me great warmth feeling when I see such development and relationships growing between these two countries. The ICC Electrical Power Equipment Fair is a great example for leading sourcing platform to both exhibitors and visitors. This actually gives an opportunity to South Africans to take part with the manufacturers from India, who will be showcasing the commodity related to transformer monitoring, compression springs, etc. What is important is that in spite of the fact that we are not seeing the physical thing, we are through technology moving way leaps and bounds. And it is this that is making us carry on with what is needed, both sides. I believe that both South Africa and India feed on each other. Although the main objective of organizing the ICC Electrical Power Equipment Fair with appropriate audience is to enable the direct manufacturers to capture exporting opportunities to South Africa, to the African region countries, the important factor is to facilitate business contacts and develop business network with potential customers. What better way? I'm a guru of networking. And for me, if this was here in South Africa, I would be the first one to be jumping there, greeting people and wanting to know how we as a business organization can facilitate and let the manufacturers who are showing this be put on our website so they can have the building new relationship with what is needed. This kind of exhibitions is not only needed in South Africa, I speak on behalf of South Africa, but I'm sure that my counterparts over here from different parts of Africa will agree with me that we need this platform to make sure that our continent of Africa reach the goals that we have to reach in the next 5 years. And with this, I wish you all the best. Thank you once again for inviting me to be a speaker at this occasion. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Arifa Parker. We recently had a delegation to Kenya on power and electric, and today we have Mr. Pranay Sinha. I'm glad he's there. There was some technical problems. Mr. Pranay Sinha, can you hear me? Could you please switch on your mic?
Yes, hello. I can hear you well and loud.
Oh, great. Thank you. So he's Second Secretary Commerce, High Commissioner of India, Abuja, Nigeria. So may I welcome you to deliver the address.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Arifa Parker, for the comments. And I'll take on from the point where you said that Nigeria is the largest trade partner for India. I'll take on from there. And I will confine myself to the power sector only and the relation between India and Nigeria. But before that, I extend my regards and welcome to all the guests and representatives attending this third virtual electrical and power equipment fair. And thanks to the Indian Chamber of Commerce for hosting this. Now, coming to the economic relations, definitely Nigeria is India's largest trading partner in Africa, with the bilateral trade topping US roughly around $15 billion for the last financial year 21-22. And to show the extent of involvement of Indian companies, as of now, we have 135 Indian companies currently operating in Nigeria with a combined investment of close to $20 billion, which is, and the Indian companies are the second largest employers in Nigeria after the federal government. That is the extent of cooperation we have. Now, coming to the topic that we are attending today about the power generation and power equipment fair. The power situation in Nigeria is pretty abysmal, to say the least. Statistically, the power generation capacity in Nigeria is 12,000 megawatts, which is roughly less than 25% of what is the actual power requirement per year what Nigeria needs. And even from those 12,000 megawatts that the installed capacity is there, the offtake is hardly 5,000 megawatts, which is less than what New Delhi uses in a day. So that is the difference which we are seeing here. And that is where I think the Indian companies can greatly come in here to invest and upgrade in the infrastructure as well as the equipment fair. So let me just run you through some more data, just to put the things in perspective. The distribution system is able to offtake currently with its infrastructure only about 40% of the installed capacity, thereby making the industrial and domestic consumers dependent on supplementary sources of power based on fossil fuel power generators for running the economic activities. This is not a very comfortable scenario for expansion of industries and manufacturing activities, which require cheap and reliable sources of power to keep the cost of production low. But at the same time, this gives Nigeria an opportunity to locate and use the latest technology for creating and improving the capacity in generation and distribution of power. And this is where India, with its experience in innovative technology-based solution to the problems, can play an important role in installation and upgradation of the power generation and distribution systems. The amount of investment which is projected for next 20 years runs to close to $100 billion, US dollars over the next 20 years. And that is the market size that we are looking at. On the other hand, the Nigerian government is also investing heavily to boost generation through the large, medium, and small hydrostatic power plants, thereby indicating the opportunities in the power generation, distribution, smart grids, and energy storage systems. All these are clear indicators that the electrical equipment sector in Nigeria is huge and offers a huge potential of growth in the future. The equipments like electrical wires, power generation machines, inverters, transformers, conductors, meters, switch gears, capacitors, you name any component, and that is required in Nigeria in great quantity. Regarding the power cost scenario, the current expenditure on the power sector right now is around 12 billion US dollars, and the cost of electricity in Nigeria is very high, roughly about I'm putting all figures in US dollars, so it is easier for everybody to comprehend. Roughly 0.35 US dollars per kilowatt hour, which is much higher than what we have in India, even India. So I see there is a huge market for less expensive off-grid power solution for industries, companies, and households in Nigeria. With the local companies working to fill this gap, there is a high demand for equipment like solar panels, installation equipment, distribution equipment, and batteries as part of their solutions. Due to the lack of production capacity for such equipment in the country, manufacturers from abroad have an opportunity to export such equipment to the companies operating this segment in the market. Nigeria has potential, very good potential for solar, hydro, wind, biomass, and coal-based power production solutions. Nigeria has enacted a renewable energy master plan, wherein they aim to increase the supply of renewable electricity to 36% by 2030. I will focus only on three of these sectors. First is solar. Nigeria is estimated to have 427 gigawatts of solar power potential, whereas the current generation capacity is only 5 gigawatts. There is a massive scope of solar power generation here. Though the efforts are afoot to increase investment and capacity on the solar front, the projects are mainly stalled due to concern about the tariff structures and capacity of the current transmission infrastructure to accommodate the additional power generation. This provides an unprecedented opportunity to both at the macro and micro level, since there is a growing uptake of off-grid solar power installations to replace the more expensive diesel generators across the country, both for commercial and industrial applications. Just to put things in perspective, I will give you my High Commission's example. We have run a bill of equivalent to 61 lakh Indian rupees only on diesel expenditure for providing generation power to the Chancery, because the power supply is pretty erratic here. So that is the opportunity that we are looking at. On the hydro sector, Nigeria is estimated to have a total exploitable large-scale hydro potential of around 15,000 megawatts, but the current share is only about 20% of the installed generation capacity. In the hydro sector also, we have quite a good capacity that is there. Now, regarding the coal, Nigeria has good coal reserves up to about 2 billion metric tons. And the government of Nigeria is seriously investing in the coal-powered electrical power. And in the next 15 years, they are aiming to project it up to 30% of the installed capacity. So this is roughly the data that we are looking at. So hydro, solar, and coal, these are the three sectors where they are pushing in. And therein where I think the Indian companies have the expertise to extend help and cooperation in getting these projects ahead. In the scenario which I have highlighted above, the self-generation of our power remains widespread, which significantly increases the cost of doing business. Combined with the lack of expertise and production facilities, in short term, this provides significant opportunity for manufacturers and suppliers of diesel operating generator sets. And for the long term, opportunities exist in the expansion of infrastructure for production, installation of grids, transmission and distribution networks, metering, billing, collection, and prevention of theft and loss. Now, at the same time, I'd also like to point out that Nigeria, which is a massive, huge country with giant and abundant natural resources, is part of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and part of the WAPP, which is an agency created by ECOWAS, which includes 14 of the 15 countries in the Regional Economic Community. This was initiated to promote and develop power generation and transmission infrastructure, as well as to coordinate the power exchange among all the member states. Nigeria currently supplies electricity to the Republic of Benin, Togo, and Niger. I'm mentioning this fact just because this implies that exploring the opportunity in the power sector here means you need to have footprint in all the WAPP countries. Now, besides all the facts and figures about the power and equipment sector in Nigeria, I'd also like to point out the challenges that we face here due to unstable energy and forex situation worldwide. Towards mitigating these challenges, recently Reserve Bank of India has announced an arrangement of domestic traders to settle imports and exports in Indian rupees. This move is to promote global trade growth by encouraging other countries to open up postal accounts. We in Nigeria have initiated the talk with the Central Bank of Nigeria for exploring this option for trade with Nigeria by entering into bilateral agreement on trade in local currency or currency swap agreement. This would also take both Nigeria and India to save on foreign currency as well as try to increase the trade volume between the two countries. In the end, I would like to state that the opportunities here are immense, and India, with its experience in innovative technology-based solutions to different problems, and with Government of India's business-friendly gestures like the proposal for trading in local currency, we are ready to extend, help, support, and extend expertise for development of the power sector in Nigeria. We have immense opportunity here, trust me. So even during the course of the main expo that you are having, if you need inputs from us, we are available here for helping out with the data. My good wishes and regards to all present. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pranay Sinha, for an elaborate and eloquent address. It covered a 360-degree overview of the India and Nigeria relations in power sector. Recently, there was a Niti Aayog report, and they mentioned that India has already about 4 decades of intensive experience for the OEMs in power and electric sector, including generation, transmission, and distribution. And they are poised to go abroad for exports, and Africa is well placed, including Nigeria, including solar as well. Last year, we had held solar industrial fair, and there's a lot of potential as well, because there's a lot of, it's India being a very competitive market with a lot of public sector control on pricing. So, yeah, so the sourcing of the equipment is very competitive. Is also going to be very advantage for the Africa. And I think Mr. GVK Rao mentioned in the welcome address that SAS, the Sustainability Africa Scenario, is a report published by International Energy Agency, and they claim that in the next 8 years, Africa needs $200 billion of investment to sustain the energy needs, roughly. So, thank you for your address. May I now move on to our guest of honor today, Mr. Rohit Wadhwana, His Excellency, of Kenya, High Commission of Kenya, Nairobi. Sir, may I request you to deliver the address?
Thank you very much. Firstly, congratulations for organizing this virtual curtain raiser. And I wish all the best to the organizer, ICC, as well as good opportunities to all the power sector companies from India. I'm also very happy that you are looking at this part of the world where the opportunities are rising. If I give you a brief overview of the opportunities in Kenya with regard to this particular sector, and also a brief overview of our bilateral trade as such, I would like to mention that our electric equipment and related trade between the two countries is quite sizable. Last year, around $76 million worth of electric equipment related items were exported from India to Kenya, and it was 10% increase over the previous year. So let's say 70 million to 76 million was a good price for us. Our total trade in last year, that is 2021 and 2022 financial year, was $2.77 billion, registering a growth of 37% over the previous year. Our export here is sizable, $2.6 billion worth, while import from Kenya to India is 145 million approximately. If I specifically speak on the Kenya's power sector and the opportunities for our companies here, I must say that Kenya has made good progress over the past 2 decades. and it has more than double its capacity to provide the electricity to the households. It was only 32% in 2013, but now it stands at 75% in 2020. So most of the households are getting electricity access, but the rate of electricity access differs in urban and rural areas. In urban areas, it is 100%, but in rural area, it is 65% only, which means that there will be a lot more possibility of electricity generation and related equipment, as well as distribution related. Current installed capacity of electricity in Kenya is around 3,000 megawatt, but it's much less for the population of over 50 million people. And therefore, we are noticing frequent electricity cut and related complaints in Kenya. However, Kenya is increasing and adding more voltage to its capacity, installed capacity. But one thing that is noteworthy for all of us is Kenya is one of the lowest cost developer of geothermal power in the world, one of the most efficient geothermal power. You will also be surprised to know that the overall proportion of electricity generation in Kenya is more of renewable sources and less of thermal and others. For example, 41% of Kenya's total electricity is coming from geothermal. 16% is coming from wind energy. Hydroelectricity provides 30% of Kenya's requirement. They import around 2%, solar is just 1%, and thermal power generation is around 10% in Kenya. So this gives you overall idea like how well distributed the electricity generation is. And why I'm mentioning this is you will also see where the opportunities will be for Indian companies to work with Kenyan side, as they will again look for the cheapest source of energy, which is geothermal and other renewable. So while looking at Kenya, we actually target for these areas for tie-up with them, and as well as export of open items. I would like to mention that the government of Kenya is also pursuing the strategy which will meet the increased demand of power. Kenya is third largest in sub-Saharan Africa in terms of size of economy, and it's growing very, very fast. It has stable government, very smooth election very recently, and people are very, very positive about the future growth. So this will certainly lead to a stable, very steady policies and focus on this sector. Kenya intends to have more manufacturing and industry-related job. So this will certainly require proper electrification and supply of power. Their target as of now is 5,000 megawatts by 2030. And they are also looking at nuclear power station, some in initial stage, first power project by 2035. They have already signed some agreement with China, also with South Korea, Slovakia, and Russia with regard to nuclear power generation. So we'll see how it develops in the future. But one thing is for sure that there will be more addition in the power generation and distribution. There are laws that Kenya is facing in terms of distribution of power. Like 60% system loss was noted last year, which is huge, and that's why they are planning to improve it. So somewhere I think we can also look at this sector. There is a company called Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, which is constructing new power lines at the length of 4,500 kilometers. So this is something again our companies can look at. And the Kenya Power is the sole distributor currently in Kenya for the power and electricity. So they are connecting the grid as well as off-grid stations for the whole of the country. So my suggestion is that our companies and ICC should study this particular opportunity and look for more business ventures here and focus on these 2 or 3 sectors as I have mentioned. High Commission of India in Nairobi will be there to help you wherever we can. So please feel free to write to us, get in touch with us, and bring your delegation or look for some meetings if that fits into your criteria. Thank you very much. All the best, ICC and all other organizer partners, for bringing this together. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. We will take that suggestions, and today I think most of the companies are from Kenya. In about 55 companies, today we have a confirmation up till 160 who are buyers alone, not the attendees. So many of them are very prominent institutes and companies, including nuclear sector. And we have Indian 40 exhibitors, and very happy that to share that about 10 of them are in the industrial automation. So that will add a lot of value to African countries, including Kenya. I would like to once again humbly deliver my thanks and also convey my gratitude. Ms. Arifa Parker, Mr. Pranay Sinha, His Excellency Rohit Wadhwana, as well as the High Commissioner of Tanzania. He, although had confirmed, he had an urgent meeting with the Minister of External Affairs, so he conveyed his best wishes. So with that, we would like to conclude this curtain raiser and open the exhibition for the African counterparts. Thank you once again for all of you to attend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Bye.